Hey, what's going on, my real estate entrepreneurs? I have another blog for today. This is regarding the offer that we just wrote on a fourplex, and this fourplex is located on Koval, right next to the MGM. This fourplex is at $175,000, and we had submitted an offer for $160,000. As I've been promising everybody that I will make a commitment to myself to write at least one offer a day. So this property actually popped up. It looked pretty good at $175,000. There are 2 units that actually have 2 bedrooms that are actually renting out for $700 a piece, and also 2 3-bedrooms that are renting out for $850 a piece. Now, this looks like it was the original apartment complex, but actually been converted. So that tells me that there's got to be an HOA, but on here, on the description, on the listing, it doesn't identify if there's an HOA or not. But typically, on something like that, would actually have an HOA. And a couple of videos back, I always stress that never take the word of the agent or the seller on what the income is and also what the expenses are. It's always important to do your homework. But what I want to talk about this property, we submitted an offer at $160,000, and there's a couple contingencies that you should always put when buying a fourplex. So I'm going to go over a couple of these items with you. So one of the contingencies is basically agreement and contingency based on buyer's qualification. So we're actually doing a conventional loan on this. And in today's market on a conventional, you're probably looking at about 4.5%, 4.5% on an investment property. But one of my clauses that I do put on here is that if I know that the interest rate is at 4.5%, I'm going to go ahead and put it down at 3.8%. Now, if the agent that's taking that listing, if they are savvy and they understand what the current market conditions are, I'm definitely going to get it countered. But I know in today's market it's at 4.5, especially for an investment property. So I probably would never get to 3.85%. But this gives me a way out of the deal. Okay. Also, another contingency that we do put on here is a due diligence period. And I normally always put it for 10 days. So that gives me 10 days to review the property. And if I want to go ahead and decide to cancel out, I'll have that option. Also, one of the things that you should always put on your contract is to make sure that all the appliances to be included in the sale of this transaction, because as you go through the process, you don't know once you transfer one order to another, its tenant starts moving out, how are you going to dispute if those are your washer, your dryer, or refrigerator? So keep that in mind. Also, I always like to use the same title company, and the reason why is because all my holdings are with the same title company. And as I purchase these properties under my name and transfer it over to my LLCs or my corporations, it just makes it a lot easier. Now, typically, when you're going under contract, you can actually, what is that called, darling? The transfer tax. You know what? I totally forgot. I have a brain fart. I do apologize, guys. No. The I can't even think of that name. There's a clause that I put into the contract. Endorsement. That's what it is. I'm sorry, guys. Typically, when you're buying a property cash and you know you're going to transfer it from one entity to the other, you want to get an endorsement. The reason why the endorsement is very important is because you don't want to have a gap on title. In addition to that, you don't want to pay taxes. So what I mean by that is while you're going under contract, you're going to pay a fee for an endorsement fee. So that way, once you close it under your name, you want to shelter that asset. So you want to move it to your corporation or LLC. And that's what you call an endorsement. So now when you transfer that over, there's not a gap in title because you don't want to have a gap in title. In addition to that, you're not paying the transfer tax. Okay. The other contingencies that we do put on here, give me a second here as I'm going through the contract. Sorry guys, give me a second here. Okay, so I always put on the financing, I'm always doing the close of escrow shall take place 40 days or sooner of a fully executed contract. The reason why I put this verbiage in there is because If you do a 30-day closing and your lender needs 25 days, but when you send over the contract over to the seller may take 7 days just to get you over the contract. So basically, you're just burning those days out. So that's why I put that verbiage where close of escrow shall take place 40 days or sooner of a fully executed contract. So basically, those 40 days will not start until we actually have a fully executed contract. Okay. Also, the other contingencies that I always put on here. This transaction is contingent upon the buyer reviewing all lease agreements. The reason why this is important is because, number one, if you have a 40-day closing and I get the contract on day 39 on the lease agreements, I could just terminate out of this deal at any time. So that works towards my benefit because it's contingent upon the buyer reviewing the lease agreement. Okay. Now, also the next contingencies that I always put on here, or I'm sorry, the additional terms would actually be all deposits to be transferred to the buyer at the close of escrow. The reason why this is important is because if you have 4 tenants in place and they all have $500 down, and let's say once you take possession of the property, if they all move out, then there goes $2,000 of your cash flow. You're going to have to pay that. So that's very important. Okay. The other contingencies that I always put on here too as well is contingent upon interior inspection. Now, sometimes I'll put that, sometimes I won't, just depending if I'm buying the property unsight unseen. On certain deals like short sales, I'm really not worried about it. Also, on this particular fourplex, I'm not worried about it because I have a 10-day due diligence period and I get to review the lease agreement anyway. So it's just really case-by-case basis, but those are the kind of tips that I have that I can share with you, and hopefully that is could be useful when you start writing up your contracts. Other than that, that's all I have as of right now, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Also, if you're just getting into the market and you really want to understand what's going on within the housing market out here in Las Vegas, Nevada, don't forget to tune into the Market Snapshot. It's a real estate and finance radio show. It's on KDWN, the 720 station. It's a talk station from 11 to 1 o'clock every Sundays. But now that the football season is coming around the corner, well, actually starts next week, we are going to be moving to Saturdays from 1 to 2 o'clock. That's what it was, 1 to 2 o'clock. So basically we're losing an hour of content, but we're going to get more viewers on a Saturday. So that's a plus for us. But other than that, thanks for tuning in and have a great day.